So this is not my usual quality. I just have some thoughts that I think I would enjoy having on my channel permanently. So today is Father's Day. I'm filming this on Father's Day. And I'm just thinking about my dad, who, when I was 9, passed away like ridiculously suddenly. And it's kind of difficult to deal with. Against all odds, grief is difficult to process. Color me surprised. So I'm just like thinking about him. My dad was the like sweetest, kindest, most like jovial, I think that's a good word, like accommodating person evsies. Like it was actually, my dad was so nice that it was almost kind of a problem to deal with. Like, I feel like on more than one occasion, we'd be, as a family, grocery shopping, Star Market, because we are from Massachusetts, and we'd be, like, getting milk or something, and my dad would, like, spot another dad wearing a Red Sox cap, or really just any other person in a vicinity, and be like, oh, hey, just nice. That's it's just how my dad sounded. Just the brightest, most charismatic person. And we'd be like, Eric, we need to leave. I'd be like, Daddy, I have to go home. My Lunchables are getting cold. Like, wrap it up. It's just like a chill dude. Oh God. My mom and I have joked that all of the like extroversion and like tolerance for other people that I have and she learned over time is because of my dad. And it's like, I don't know. It's very weird. Like, I definitely think that so many aspects of my personality have emerged over time as a result of not having my dad in my life and like not really understanding men because I didn't have a dad for a lot of my life. We're not going to get into like daddy issues 101 right now, but like, you know, I'm like literally not going to edit this, so that's why I'm like just switching between topics. Because my brain is disorganized. What do my brain and my room have in common? They're a mess. Put that on a shirt and sell it at Target because I was corny. Okay. Yeah, I just like really I think the hardest part about losing someone in your life is not necessarily, well, definitely the initial shock of them, dying. That like is definitely a 0 out of 10. Would not like and subscribe. But the hardest part is mourning the experiences that didn't get to happen. That's I think the worst part of it. So, and side note, I had another like very intense death happen to me semi recently. My grandmother died in October, but for that, obviously, absolutely heartbreaking. But that happened when I was 23. I'm 24 now, and so I'd had 23 incredible years with my grandmother, who was an absolute angel in my life, and I also had already gone through the shock of losing my father. I'd experienced an extreme trauma at a very young and formative age, which definitely helped prime me for any other griefs I experienced throughout the years. It's just, so I didn't have as many experiences to mourn not having with my grandmother as I do with my dad, if that makes sense. Like, I lived so much of my life with my grandmother, so much more of my life than I was able to live with my dad. When my dad passed away, like I said, I was 9, I remember experiencing just rage like I had never felt before. I was not an angry child. I was a timid little angel with a fear of authority. But I was just angry, and I remember why. I didn't think it was fair that everyone in my life had gotten so much more time with my dad. I threw like intense tantrums about it, just screaming, crying, and there was nothing that really could be done except let it pass. And then that's when this sort of like numbing sadness would set in because I couldn't do anything to fix it. And there's still forms of that now where I'll just like think about experiences that I could have had with my dad if he were alive. Like, I think the hardest one is thinking about graduating college, which my dad obviously did not get to see me do. And things that will happen, getting married, having children, just advancing in my job and whatnot, and just living every day of my life without my dad is very sad, you know? Because I can't do anything about that. I can imagine what it would be like, which is nice because, like, my dad made everything great. So it's like, yeah, that experience would probably be very nice with my dad. It's just sad, you know? It's sad, and it's hard to make yourself feel better when you are experiencing that, which I'm sure other people can relate to. And it's like I can think about experiences that I had, but there's another problem, which is that, you know, it's been over 12 years since my dad died now, and I do forget things. Like, there was a long period of time when I was like an early teenager where I was forgetting what my dad's voice sounded like. Unfortunately, like, we found some home movies, we made them into DVDs because it's, you know, the future and you can do that now. And watching them, I was like, oh, okay, now it's coming back. And it's like scary to think about forgetting parts of people that were so important to you. But that's just, you know, the ultimate distance between a person is one of them being dead, so I guess it makes sense. It's so weird. Like, in addition to mourning experiences I could have had with my dad or anybody that dies in your life, you also just, you know, the added bonus of losing my dad when I was 9 and, like, on the precipice of puberty and whatnot. I also have to think about how my, like, mental development and, like, the kind of personality that I cultivated over time would have been different had I not undergone, all right, did you graduate college? Had I not undergone this trauma, what would I be like? Would I be braver? Would I take more risks? Would I have rebelled against my mother as a teenager instead of, like, clinging to her for dear emotional support and life? Would we be as close? I don't know. What would things have been like? I can't even imagine growing up as a teenager with 2 parents. Isn't that wild? It's just, it's so kooky, you know? Death and things. I don't know. Those were just a bunch of absolutely discombobulated, which is one of my favorite words, thoughts on this fine Father's Day. I posted this on Instagram. This is a pretty great picture of my father and I. Clearly you can see the original meatball right here with the chef that created the meatball. Yeah. I miss my dad. I'm not as raw and hurt as I was, you know, years ago. But the way that I experience the pain of grief is, after a while, it just sort of gets, it's like, I don't know, it's like if you have, like, a bad, you know what, here's a good metaphor. When I was a freshman in college, I was leaving the gym my, like, second week of school, and I was skipping because I'm a whimsical little goblin, and that's how I, you know, do things. And I tripped, and I fractured my 5th metatarsal bone in my left foot, and it healed, but, like, not great. And every so often, if I'm standing too long or I, like, roll my ankle a little bit, it'll be, like, kind of a pain there for a second. And that's what grief is kind of like now for me. It's fine most of the time. And then something will remind me, and then I just get this kind of, like, dull ache of, like, oh, yeah. That whole thing happened. So, yeah, oh, come on. All right. Well, that's my cue to be done. So, remember to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications and leave a comment and support me on Patreon and donate to my GoFundMe and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Okay. Bye.